welcome to episode 45 of the InGeneral podcast, brought to you by Jurassic Outpost. My name's Jack, and I'm joined with Chris. Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going today?
Good, man. How are you?
Pretty good.
And I'm also joined with JurassicCollectables. Hey, man.
Hey, guys.
Hey. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you both doing?
Very good, man. Very good.
Doing pretty good.
Cool.
Just before we came on, we were talking about the new casting. So I'm feeling pretty excited for Jurassic World 2, I'll be honest, right now.
Yeah.
I've got a good pump going. This is going to be good.
This is exciting. The news is actually really beginning to flow, and it's been marked by the social media accounts awakening. You know, the official social media accounts and the websites and everything has slowly started to shift into gear.
Yeah.
And
it's nice to finally see some action on their behalf.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's been quiet since the movie came out.
Yeah. Like, entirely quiet. It's kind of been absurd how quiet it was. And
so let's get the sad stuff out of the way first. So we know that Jake Johnson is not returning for Jurassic World 2. Not that I really expected him to.
I mean, I loved him.
Fact,
He was one of my
even on
favorite.
my mind.
He was one of my favorite little bits of Jurassic World. I wouldn't want him in the sequel. That would have felt shoehorned in. Like
the only way that I thought they may bring him back is that at the end of the film, he's like, somebody's got to stay behind, and I kind of got the impression that he's staying on the island. You know,
no girlfriend. I'm just staying here.
Yeah. But yeah, he basically just tweeted when somebody asked. He was like, "From what I hear, Lowry will not be in the sequel." So.
That'd be hilarious if they did a Jumanji.
Yeah,
on him
just,
and
what year is it?
He's there in rags.
Just come back. That would be great.
Still there in the same room.
Oh man.
Oh, Chris, you dressed up as
Oh
dressed
yeah,
up as
yeah,
Halloween.
I did. You know, it was funny. I went to. I honestly, I threw it together because I was going to a big party, like a big. I don't remember that night at all. Literally, I woke up God knows where. But
yeah, just to point out for the listeners out there, Chris actually messaged me and Assis and said, if I tweet something bad, or was it if I tweet drunk? If I drunk tweet, text me and tell me to delete it. I was waiting, man. I was waiting for his drunk tweet.
Yeah, no, I managed to refrain, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I dressed up as Lowry, and I was like, it was just a last minute thing. I'm like, people are not going to know who I am. Like, they're just not gonna know. Everyone's like, you're the guy from Jurassic World. Oh my god, it's perfect. I'm like, wow, it worked.
That's good, man. Yeah, I was gonna ask if anybody knows.
Yeah, like everyone knew. They're like, oh my god, you're the guy. No one knew his name, obviously, but they're like, you're the guy from New Girl who's on in Jurassic World. I'm like,
That's
yeah,
great, man.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah, I actually got a costume. I'm not just a guy dressed normally, sort of, with a geeky shirt and a shirt over it. No, I'm in a costume, just like everybody else. I was going to do Alan Grant, actually, but I couldn't find a hat that was acceptable enough to work.
Yeah, you need a denim blue shirt.
I have the shirt, believe it or not.
Oh, nice. Man.
Yeah, I have the
David,
shirt.
did you dress up for Halloween?
No, I didn't. We had our baby last year, and I was thinking maybe we were going to dress up our baby as something Jurassic Park related. But no, I didn't actually take part in any Halloween celebrations this year. It really just fell silent on me. I don't know why. I just kind of missed it.
Well, we live in Britain, man. Britain doesn't really celebrate like the Americans. It's
yeah,
no.
We love Halloween over here.
Yeah, I mean, I usually love it, and I've dressed up. I've done some really elaborate costumes in the past, but yeah, I think I would have liked to have done one of the blow-up T-Rex costumes that are now.
Those are brilliant, man.
If I could have got one, I would have showed up in that. You know, believe it or not, this is the first Halloween I've ever dressed up as a character. Like, I've never dressed up as a character from a movie. I've always done, like, really elaborate, like, make my own costume types. Just a ghost. I'm a ghost.
Just throw a white sheet on, man. What are you? I'm a
ghost. No, yeah, I've never done a character. And I've never dressed up as anything from Jurassic Park. And it occurred to me, I'm like, all these years I've been such a big fan of Jurassic Park. Never done it. I mean, I've done, like, an orc from Lord of the Rings where I, like, sculpted my face and painted it. That was when I was, like, 13 or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I've done all these things. And
you've dressed up as a furnace?
I've dressed up as a furnace. Dressed up as a Ghostbuster.
No, you were young during that. You were, like 5 or something?
Something
that was
like
definitely Home Alone related, right?
I don't know.
It's got to be Home Alone that spurred that on.
Does he dress
I want to
up...
be the scary furnace from Home Alone.
Was there a... Oh! I wonder.
It's got to be, man.
Wonder. You know what? I don't know.
Because why the hell would you choose a furnace?
I don't know. But my mom, she knocked it out of the park then. I said I wanted to be a furnace. She said, okay, I'll make you a furnace costume.
All right,
and
my
it
weird
actually
little
looked
boy.
good. And the funniest thing is, you see the great door on it with the flames in it. That door, it was actually it opened, and that's where I can bring in I had a bag in there that I wore over my body, and that's where I would open it up and then grab the Halloween candy and put it inside there.
And then run away.
That's great.
So I had it all stored inside, and that was a really wintry,
very supportive parent. I think it's sign of a very good parent. Just going, yeah, okay.
I was a spider once. I think she built me a thing where there are little strings attached to all my many arms, so they all would come up. And I was a spider. But yeah, I've never done a dinosaur or a Jurassic Park character.
I'm just looking at your Lowry now. You got the glasses nailed as well.
Yeah, no, I just walked into a Spirit Halloween store, and literally they were there. And I was like...
That's the funnest.
I'm like...
That's so good, man. It's so sweet.
I've always wanted to do Nedry in a good way, get a really big fat suit or something and do
that would be fun.
Do a proper Nedry. That'd be brilliant.
Nedry would be fun. Is anybody a soda or something? So let's talk about casting or something. Or the website. What do we want to talk about?
Maybe
first?
The website. 'Cause let's end on the really fun stuff.
David, what have you been on JurassicWorld.com?
Yes, I saw the images when you guys were posting them on Twitter, and I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know how big they expected that to be, or whether they're just sort of slowly updating the website, and then us as fans just kind of happened across it. Whoa, look at all this new stuff.
Well, Chris seems to think that it was sort of almost accidental, right?
Yeah,
because some of the there's so many errors. It's awesome. Don't get us wrong. It is really awesome. I love the new site. I love that they've expanded it. I mean, it's better on mobile than it is on PC. It's that good a site, but yeah, there's some errors. There's some spelling errors. There's some dinosaur names that are named wrong. I mean, there's did you know Nash was killed by a Spinosaurus? It's was he?
Yeah, no, it very much. I think this is the thing. You've got to realize these websites, they're not done in house at Universal. In the case of JurassicWorld.com. I'm almost certain that it's a studio called Trailer Park that is doing all this.
Still doing it, yeah.
And you've got to realize they're not Jurassic Park experts. You know, they're working on all these different franchises, and they've done a beautiful, beautiful job with this website. But I don't believe Universal has an in-house team to write content and to generate content. So it's not that surprising that things like creating the Intel pages are struggling, because they just don't have the people, the teams, the minds to make things like that happen yet.
I think all they got to do is just send a little email to the Outpost and just say, "Hey, Jack and Chris, what are you guys up to? Because we've got this website, but we need some content. We need some fans." And be like, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we can fit that in."
I suppose, since you asked, but no,
I'll check my diary. And, we'll fly over and we'll see what happens, man.
But the reality
it could just be. Go on, Chris.
I was going to say, the reality is this website is beautiful, but gorgeous. You need a collaboration of these really great marketing people, and you need a collaboration of the fiction and story people and the content creators and the content generators. You need them to work together, because when you have these industry experts, these really, really established people to make a beautiful website like this, then working with the people that know the franchise and maybe have the outlandish ideas that they wouldn't think of, but then you bring them together, you could have such an amazing collaboration. And that's, I think, what needs to happen to move forward to really allow Jurassic World and all of its greater network of social media, marketing, expanded universe, for it to really live up to its potential. You got to bring a lot of these different talents and minds together.
Definitely,
it's an interesting move for them to make. I thought, if you were to just think, oh yeah, they're just updating the website arbitrarily, they're just putting up new pictures, or is it a case of there's content that's coming up in the new film that requires maybe just a tiny bit of knowledge about the history of the whole series and also the characters that were involved?
I think you're right, man. It's got to play some part, because they've never really they've never really recalled back to the original trilogy.
And I'm thinking
Jurassic
Site
World
B, because there's a lot of stuff from Site B on it, and there's also stuff from Jurassic Park 3, but that's Site B as well. So I'm kind of wondering if maybe that's where we're going in this next chapter.
It is kind of funny, because Jack and I have speculated the same thing in the past. We've kind of talked do you think Sorna's coming back? And it would be really interesting to see if that happened. And I definitely I do agree. I mean, I'm not sure if that's exactly what the website means, but I don't exactly think you're completely off beat there as well. I mean, I think it's important to realize the franchise is now underneath the Jurassic World branding for the time being, and I think they finally wanted to kind of unify it and bring it all together because it is a franchise. You know, Jurassic World is Jurassic Park 4, and even though the Jurassic World branding is taking over, at least for Jurassic World 2 and 3, it's
Lex Murphy, occupation, child.
Yeah.
just
when I
a
saw
dumb
those,
child.
like, it's same with Tim. I'm just like, that's what, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's I think my point, my favorite thing about this, it's so typical. I'll explain this to everyone that reads Jurassic Outpost. It seems that the news hits, any news about the sequels and stuff, seems to hit the day that I have left a computer. So I woke up, it was 6 a.m, I was getting on my flight, leaving for London. Chris and Assis, it was late for them, and they were freaking out. JurassicWorld.com had just been updated, and I was like, it's so typical. I'm about to leave Signal, and fly to the UK. You fly away. It's always, so I can never write it up. I can never, like, indulge myself. I was, like, screenshotting stuff on my phone, and all the new images are amazing.
Yeah, no,
all the
so
images
good.
We've not seen of people in Jurassic Park. They seem like some of them are proper, professional set pictures.
It makes you
And if
wonder
they're
how
like
many
a website
exist.
builder. Go on, Chris. Sorry.
I just said it makes you wonder how many more exist. Like, they're just probably all sitting on like a server.
That's
at
exactly
Universal.
what I was thinking. Yeah, because if you're a website builder, they're basically just going to give them a repository of high-resolution stills, and then they go do with it what you will.
Exactly.
And they've selected the ones that they want to use on the web, so there must be a massive repository of all these high-resolution stills.
Absolutely,
Right?
yeah.
Which is, is pretty cool in itself. Just going back to the Lost World point, something I got thinking about was, if it does indicate a direction towards the Lost World, it echoes with the fact that this is a darker, grittier sequel to go back to that island to have the echoes of it, and also to do stuff that they did in Jurassic World that worked really effectively, going back to the visitor center, but doing the same in the world of the Lost World. So going back, maybe finding the wreckage of the trailer at the bottom of a beach.
Don't.
Doing the same treatment that they've done, because Jurassic World worked really effectively. So maybe doing the same treatment, but harking back to that chapter, which is also a very, for a lot of people, they still really love that movie.
Absolutely. I mean, I love The Lost World. I will say people are probably a little less nostalgic about it, unless people know the references, so you can't necessarily rely on the references as much. But not only The Lost World, I mean, I love The Lost World, and I love the visuals and the style of it a lot more than Jurassic Park 3. But
definitely
they're both on
sort of
Sorna,
movie ever made.
and there's been a lot of speculation. What if in 2001 during Jurassic Park 3, Masrani Global, they owned InGen. So what if they were on Sorna back then? What if the Spinosaurus was a Masrani Global InGen owned creation?
Exactly,
and there's a chance to explore that.
Yeah, you've got two generations there as well. People who remember The Lost World and people who remember Jurassic Park 3. But if you make nods to both of those, because they're both on Site B, then you're actually pulling in a bigger audience, because there's like people who remember The Lost World, and then there's people who remember Jurassic Park 3. So it's kind of like a no-brainer really to do.
And like Colin said to us,
that way.
there's now people that obviously grew up with Jurassic World, who don't know the original trilogy.
Exactly.
And will now have the chance to explore
and exactly,
expand
it points at this older product that they want to sell again and again and again. So they're like, right, we've made one film that points back at chapter 1. Let's do another film that points back at the other 2, because then we'll sell those as well. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's good speculation.
And on top of that, it kind of unifies the franchise, because all the films, they are canonically connected, but there are times where sometimes the bigger story beats that they hint at, I mean, again, to harken back to the Spinosaurus, it's like they're never really explored, and there's a lot of opportunity there to kind of say, well, what was, makes me wonder what else InGen's been up to. Well, that's a really cool question, but you don't answer it, and maybe this is finally a chance. When Colin said that they opted for the research facility sign rather than the East Dock sign to show that there's more to the history than we know about. I mean, I think that the sequel to Jurassic World might really be exploring the idea there's a lot more that you know about. This is how it all connects. These are the things that were happening. But I think it's important that it moves the story forward, because I think that judging by the Hawaii news, it's safe to say the movies are back on the islands.
They're going back to something.
Yeah, and I think it sounds like they're going to be mainly on the islands. But I think it's important that Jurassic World 3 finally steps away from it. So I do think that whatever the greater story of the sequel is, even though we might be revisiting the past, I think it's going to be moving things forward in an unprecedented way. And I think it's going to have a better reason to revisit the past.
I think it would be odd not to go back to Site B as well, because if you stepped away from the islands completely now, there's definitely a weird feeling of like, well, are all those dinosaurs still alive? As well. There's definitely a feeling of like you need to come full circle and finish off that bit of Jurassic Park history as well before you move on.
And you need a good reason to be off the islands. Well. You need to have I mean, these are dinosaur movies. You need a really good, believable reason to have dinosaurs off the islands, because the movies, while they left room for them to be off the islands, there might be other facilities elsewhere where they're breeding dinosaurs. The thing is, they never established that, and suddenly opening up and just being like, surprise, there's dinosaurs elsewhere, we're just going to spend our entire movie there. It's kind of like, okay, I guess I can believe it, but it's not necessarily rewarding or satisfying, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a natural evolution of the story. And I think it's important to progress the story in a way that feels right, and I think there's a lot of room for that. And I'm
this could also be leading to, I mean, as you said, they want to sort of, it's like they want to resell the original trilogy. This could be leading to an expanded, a new Blu-ray release, get them back on.
Well, I mean, that's the whole intention of any sequel franchise, is that it should point back to the original and help them resell the original product. That's the aim with any sequel. So now you've got this gap of like, oh well, we could point back to those two films as well and recoup some more profit. So it's kind of a no-brainer in terms of Universal.
I mean, if I'm being honest, Jack, we've talked about this before in the past. We've been hearing a lot of buzz for like the past year and a half that 2017 is going to have a classic Jurassic theme. I don't know what happened to Raptor Squad. I think Raptor Squad might have went the way of the dodo. But I think classic Jurassic is sticking around, and that kind of does make sense. I think it's we're coming up on the 25th anniversary of Jurassic Park, and there's a lot of room.
Well, next year is the 20th of
Lost World,
man.
yeah.
So let's hope that Universal do something for that.
Dude,
being the best movie that's ever been made, it would make sense for them to.
And also, if you've got the second film pointing at those two that they haven't covered nostalgically yet in the film, and then you've got the marketing doing classic stuff that's pointing back to the first film, then you've got basically marketing all three films earlier in the trilogy that kids won't know about at the same time.
True, yeah.
So it's like we're marketing everything at the same time.
I won't lie, this is like, I feel bad because I sound a little bit like a jerk, but in the case of Universal, I'm not sure if I'd really, really want to push new people to the Jurassic Park 3, because like if they love Jurassic World, they're going to go back and watch Jurassic Park, and it's a different era of a movie, but they're going to love it. It's a good movie. They're going to watch The Lost World, and they'll probably like it, but Jurassic Park 3, I don't know. Like, it might be one of those movies.
I still think it sells, though. I still think they'll want to sell it.
I wouldn't push it as hard as the first Jurassic Park, I think, is what I'm saying. I think that there's a better chance for them to really focus on Jurassic Park and then kind of nod towards The Lost World and nod towards Jurassic Park 3 even a little bit less.
I mean, we could see the Spinosaurus.
Yeah.
That's one thing that could happen. And I don't think, people would go, oh my god, I hated Jurassic Park 3 so much that I don't want to see the Spinosaurus.
No, I mean, I didn't like Jurassic Park 3, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Spinosaurus again.
I think people would love that. So I think it would be cool.
The raptors that were, the Sorna raptors. That
you could have the long grass, the set piece, the long grass. You could have that, anywhere. And as long as they use the long grass, it would still be a nod to...
Yeah, a nod to the best movie ever made. So let's talk about the other thing that you found on here, Chris.
The countdown?
Through a hidden page. Yeah, the countdown.
I'm on the page
down.
right now. Yeah,
what is the page? I was traveling, man. What is the page?
Test dash count dash homepage dash blog.
Link me, man. Link me.
Okay, hold
Copy
on.
and paste.
Let's see. I'm sending it in this chat.
I really like the site. If Universal are listening, obviously, we used to go on about them being our biggest fans on the podcast, but if they are listening, the site is fantastic.
No, it really is. So
this is what people wanted to see, you know, some just actual coverage of the franchise that we love.
So when I found the countdown page, I think when I first found the website, it was at 17 days. And then, like 2 days later, it went down to 10 days. And then it went up.
This is the teaser trailer, isn't it?
No, I think it's too soon for that. I think it might be like maybe they'll do like a logo reveal or a title reveal through the website.
Yeah, I think it's a general countdown. They must have been testing because
it's counting up and it's glitchy as hell.
They're probably going to put one on for Jurassic World 2 release day, and they'll have one, you know, the Blu-rays, a new Blu-ray set is coming out on this day.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a general, but it's a cool looking countdown.
Do you remember the Jurassic Park 3 teaser trailer that basically showed you nothing, which is the shot one?
Yeah,
loved it.
Wasn't
Still
that
love
about a year before?
You don't get
that
teaser
was
trailers
when
like
the
that
DVD
anymore.
came out. That was when the Lost World and JP came out on DVD.
Yeah.
They released that teaser.
I think they could do something like that. But
They
I don't know.
could. I just don't know if they would. You just, for some reason, you really
should.
don't get teasers like that anymore.
This is cool.
Well, you got one for Rise of the War of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, true,
That
but
had a teaser.
we're going to get a
that.
real trailer probably this month. Like, it's
Well,
not
let's hope
early.
for Jurassic World 2.
Yes,
they
the War of
do
the Planet of the
tease it.
Apes one was an interesting one because that was just literally just one shot holding on. And they could do something similar, couldn't they? Where it's just like, you know, a raptor claw or something. And
Just all they need is the shot of muddy ground, right? A puddle.
Yeah.
That's kind of reflective, and all you can—it's just fixed on this puddle.
I bet this is going to be the
All you can hear
teaser
is
now.
rumbling. You can hear the rainforest around them. You can hear rumbling. Something runs through the screen. Something small with legs. Then a few more things. You know, some compies run past, and then you hear this big boom come.
That's a way to reveal the logo.
It could be the title reveal.
Yeah, that's the way to reveal the title and the logo.
Yeah,
you do like an old school teaser
I
trailer.
think that's probably what it is. I think it's either the title reveal or a teaser trailer that does that.
I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, you've got to hire people to do that. You have to plan it in advance, and I mean,
what they've got to do is they've got to write to the Jurassic Outpost website. They've got to say, "Hey, Jack and Chris, what are you up to? Would you like to do a teaser trailer for?"
Oh yeah, I mean, I suppose I can make some time to do that.
Let me check my diary.
Let me see. Let me see what I got going on.
No, I think it's cool. It's cool as a countdown. I like that. All that it really shows is that the site's going to be bigger.
Yeah,
there's going to be way more features, and
also if you type in JurassicWorld.com/shop, there's a shop page that is currently not linked on the website, but it exists.
What can you buy?
The Blu-rays at the moment.
Cool.
But yeah, it exists. It's not linked.
I might buy the Lost World while I'm here.
Add to basket. There we go. No, I'm kidding.
But
I'm
yeah,
not
just
playing
like-
Jurassic
and
World
then there's
again.
also
Not
a
again.
login. There's a login page. If you go to JurassicWorld.com/user/login.
See, now they've got all the older films here up for sale, and I know that's like, it's just funny that like up till now it's been very much predominantly Jurassic World stuff. They could have put the Jurassic World Blu-ray, then T-shirts, then Jurassic World toys, let's say, on this page, the shop page, but they've got the whole trilogy.
Yeah, no, I think that it's fair to say that the whole trilogy, this is going to be about the entire franchise. JurassicWorld.com will be about the entire franchise, about informing yourself about news about everything about the franchise and all their extended events. Whatever Jurassic World 2 is called, I'm sure there'll be, like, let's just pretend like it is called Ancient Futures. Then I'm sure the movie website will be ancientfuturesmovie.com.
Yeah.
But, like,
and have you seen the community page? Have you clicked on
Yes.
the community page?
So yeah,
You've got people all dressed up as characters from the film.
Just to point out, JurassicWorld.com/user/register.
It is-
doesn't give you 404. It says access denied.
access denied. Yep. And
Interesting.
another thing is originally the little tab that says events. It originally just said exhibition. So originally the events page was just for the exhibition, and now it's events plural, which means there's probably going to be more things than just the exhibition coming up eventually.
Yeah, I like it. It just shows that. But I can see what you mean. It seems like maybe if it's Trailer Park, there's almost a bit of miscommunication between Trailer Park and Universal. And it's not a half-assed job by any means, but
Well, they just probably don't have people to write these facts. They watch The Lost World, they see this long-necked dinosaur, and they're like, "Oh, that's the Apatosaurus from Jurassic World, isn't it?" And then that's what happens, and it's obviously not an Apatosaurus. It's how do you pronounce that?
And I think it's a work in progress.
Is that how you pronounce it? Mamachiasaurus? You'd think after all my years of studying and working at the museum, I would know how to pronounce dinosaur names, but I still struggle. You'd think, but there are too many of them, and they're too complicated.
While we're still on the topic of websites, do you remember you guys talked in a past podcast about the Lost World, the old website that was still active?
Yeah.
And I made a tweet about the fact that they had, if you delved deeper, there was a little bit of audio of the full scene where Hammond is talking to Ian Malcolm about his proposal in the Lost World.
Oh, yeah.
And the audio is the full scene, before it was cut. So you can hear...
Whoa, no way.
Yeah, you can hear the in-scene audio, and it's got more wordage in there. So
oh, cool, dude! Send that my way, man.
Yeah, I made a tweet about it a while ago.
Yeah, you know what? I think I downloaded it when you tweeted it, and then it was it was a weird file, and I don't think I ever got around to opening it.
It was a quick
that
time.
on. I put that on the website recently on the deleted scenes. I put about the extended scene. I didn't know you could listen to it. That's great.
Yeah, it was the audio of the scene that they would have recorded on set, and obviously they did. They dubbed over the top and did clearer dialogue, but this was the original scene dialogue, and it had extra bits in there.
Yeah, I need to listen to that. That's cool. So let's talk about the casting.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the new... in fact, we'll get it out of the way. So Tom Holland, who is the new Spider-Man, has just announced that he has a 6-movie deal with Marvel. Classic. He was asked in an interview if there's any other directors he wants to work with, and then he mentioned that he wants to work with Bayona again. Obviously, he worked with Bayona on The Impossible. And the interviewer asked Jurassic World, perhaps, and he replied, "We had a chat one time. I don't know if I'm available for it, but there is a role there. But he probably won't be able to do it." And based on
this is what can lead us
facts together.
This is what can lead us to talking about the role of Clint, which is currently casting.
Yeah. Based on the description of Clint that we've read, it seems like Tom Holland would have been going for that role. So, do you want to read out the description, Chris?
Sure. Clint is a 20-something charismatic male technician with a certain apathetic sense of unsure of himself and the situation he is in. He's kind of not exactly thrilled about being in a...
I'm trying to think of a character in the trilogy that that would have been like... I'm trying to think of a character in Jurassic Park that, because obviously you've got Tim, but he's very
exactly. He's more.
We haven't really had the 20-year-old.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that he's on the younger side. I'm betting that they're going to end up casting somebody on a little bit of an older side of the role. Not necessarily. I don't think they're necessarily looking for someone young and fresh-faced as Tom Holland. Not that they're completely opposed to it. I just don't think they're going for the young pretty boy look or whatever. I think they're just going for the 20-something, fresh into your first career, and oh my god, why am I dealing with dinosaurs?
Thrown into the mix,
when you have a sense, if I were hiring a technician. If I were bringing in a technician in a situation that would have dinosaurs, I would probably, go to somebody who maybe, served in the Army Reserve or something like that, at least was properly trained, maybe did that for a few years.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the case at all, but I don't know. That's maybe that's my speculation. What do you think from...
Well, it's interesting. I think... I think they probably had a chat with him just because Bayona's worked with him before. He's a good actor. You know,
they could have made it work for him.
He's quite popular, so they could have made it work.
And he's 20.
I think they'll go someone slightly older. I do hope so, anyway. Because this has the potential to be, not somebody like Jake Johnson, but somebody who's got a pre-established audience that's quite niche, because it's quite a niche role, isn't it?
I hope that it's a little more subtle than it sounds, and I think it could be an absolutely fantastic and subtle role.
I don't want somebody running around screaming and freaking out. You know.
Yeah, I don't want the humor too blunt, I guess is the word. Because Jurassic Park, it had a lot of humor, and it was super, super subtle. It was like kind of like you didn't laugh right away, and then you go, like, you know, there were funny scenes, but like a lot of the jokes, like spoken jokes in that movie, were more of like clever rather than
but they're in a very tense environment, so it's almost like the characters don't want to laugh, but it's like for 1 second there's a bit of humanity there. So let's get rid of him anyway. So Toby Jones and
Rafe Spall
is have been announced as joining. Well, they're in talks to join Jurassic World 2 now.
Basically means they've signed. It's just it's Hollywood talk.
Early days, but this is fantastic. This is two cast members that I never would have expected to be in a Jurassic movie, but now it's all I want to see. Toby Jones is amazing. He's so unique, and Rafe Spall. In fact, let me Google this. How to pronounce?
It's Spall, isn't it? Like Timothy Spall. This is.
I'm thinking Spall.
Spall. Well, hang on. There's a audio description here. How to pronounce? This could be good. The sweetest sound in the world is the person's own name. Raffi.
Raffi.
Yes.
No.
Raffi
Spall?
Surely.
Raffi Spall?
I've heard before.
Apparently the American English way of saying R-A-F-E is Raffi.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
That's going to get
What about the
annoying.
British way? Well, anyway, these are two British actors, right?
Yes.
Which is very interesting.
Now, I mean...
Obviously, probably means nothing. He is... Raffi has played multiple American characters in movies and TV shows, so it doesn't.
I don't think there's
anything.
any real reason to make them lose the accent, though. I mean, this is a franchise that it's most of these movies have taken place in the middle of the islands that aren't they're not the United States, they're not anywhere. They're off the coast of Costa Rica, and so they can have whatever accent that they actually have. I don't think there's any reason to make them sound American, unless it turns out they're related to like an American character that's already been established. So I wouldn't be surprised if they keep their accents. There's no reason not to.
But let's talk about these actors. Let's talk. What has Toby Jones been
in? So probably a lot of people are going to recognize him from the Captain America films. He played.
Yeah, he was in the.
He played the little squirrely evil scientist, Dr. Zola.
And who was in the first one?
He was in the first one and the second one.
Okay.
I don't.
Yeah, you got to kind of think like, what are they looking at in his portfolio that makes them think, oh, we'd be good for this.
Well, then that's probably because he played the role of Dobby the house elf, or at least he played the voice in Harry Potter.
So you think he's going to play a little weird dinosaur thing?
Just a finally, we're getting our human dinosaurs.
No,
Assis will be thrilled, or I don't know. Does Assis like that or not like that right now?
I don't know.
I wondered if it was interesting them hiring them as a pair, because I think timing is important. Like, you have roles that you need to fill for the script because maybe you've invented these characters, and the fact that they're at the same time makes me think that they're either part of the same group or they're important to each other.
It is
somehow.
That is possible. We know that his
brothers, man.
Toby
definitely.
Jones' name is allegedly Wheaton.
Yeah. So who was it who said this on Twitter? It was
Jeff Snyder, I believe.
Who writes
He writes for Mashable now, but he has a history.
He was on.
I think he worked at Variety once upon a time, and then he worked at
first showing.
The Wrap. But he has a history of being on the inside loop of the Jurassic franchise. He is someone that broke details. He never like he was never like the ones that like broke the story or anything like that. But anytime somebody got cast, like even if he wasn't the one breaking the casting news, his article would give you details about who they were, what they were playing, every single time. Right? And people would gloss over it. People tend to not pay attention, but I've noticed that he tends to be looped in. So when the news broke, he tweeted Wheaton and Mills, which then Sick Triceratops mentioned that it sounds like an American cereal company, and I really can't unhear
on Mills.
Like,
but I think I have a feeling. I mean, just looking at those two names and looking at these pictures, Wheaton's definitely Rafe.
You think? Because when they announced
Mills is way more.
I don't know. When they announced it, Toby Jones was first. Like in the tweet, it was Toby Jones and Rafe Spall, and then Jeff said Wheaton and Mills. So
so he was aligning.
I'm pretty certain. I mean, he wouldn't elaborate. I asked him to, and he didn't. But he did make a coy comment when the cereal comment came in. So I mean, yeah, they're character names. They are the character names. They might change, but they are the character names. So most likely Toby Jones is Wheaton. Most likely Rafe Spall is Mills.
So let's talk about Rafe Spall. He was in Shaun of the Dead. I think it was one of his early works. A very good British comedy zombie film.
An amazing movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen
seriously
that,
fantastic.
Then
I love
who
it.
Are you? Yeah, it is really funny. Shaun of the Dead. It's like the British version of Zombieland. Oh, like Zombieland is the American version of Shaun of the Dead in a way, with the kind of humor. But he was in that. He was kind of chubby in that, if what I remember correctly.
I don't entirely.
He's the guy in the shop. I'm gonna Google it to make sure I'm talking about the right. I usually watch Hot Fuzz if I'm going to watch one of these films.
I've got that on DVD.
Hot Fuzz is brilliant. Yeah, he's chubby in that film. He's fat. He's a fat guy.
Huh.
But he's not like... I've most recently saw him in Black Mirror Christmas Special, and then also X and Y, which I think is called something else in America. Yeah, it's called A Brilliant Young Mind. It's a film about autism. Check it out. It's a really good film. Directed by Morgan Matthews, who is a really good BBC director. But yeah, he was in that. He plays the teacher.
I think other people will recognize him. He played Milburn in Prometheus, one of the scientists who, obviously spoilers, but if you haven't seen Prometheus, that's, you're probably not going to.
Prometheus podcast,
yeah, you're probably not going to if you haven't seen it already. He's one of the scientists that get separated and left behind, and then the little alien thing comes out and they touch it, and he's the one who dies. He's not the one that gets turned into an alien.
Yeah.
I kind of, in my mind, if I were to just look at them and picture what their role would be, I know I'm kind of superimposing my Lost World theory, but I kind of see Toby Jones as like an African hunter, like in khaki shorts. Like, I don't know why, sort of like an Ajay character. And then, like, Rafe Spall being like a 5 o'clock shadow guy who's also in khaki. Like, I don't know why, but I just get the sort of feeling that that's what they'd look. I can picture them looking like that.
Basically,
I get a Vince Vaughn, Nick Van Owen vibe from Rafe.
Yeah, definitely. That's a better way to put it. That's exactly.
We definitely, just to confirm, we are calling him Rafe for the sake of the podcast.
I'm calling him Rafe. Rafe is his name.
Yeah, it's definitely Rafe, but we've all started calling him Rafe. We'll have to get him on and ask him.
What is your name? Okay, thank you. You can leave now.
All right, cheers, man. Let's talk to Toby Jones. Yeah, no, he's a really good actor though, and I'd see him as a Nick Van Owen type character.
Yeah, I definitely see that for him. For Toby, at first I was like, oh, great, he's probably typecast playing like the typical scientist, role that he tends to play, and that wouldn't be awful actually. But that's what I originally imagined. But I'm looking at him, and I could actually see him in a sort of Ludlow-y type of role, like someone pulling, the
bit of a prick.
Like an asshole who's pulling the pocketbook and kind of making everything happen behind the scenes type of deal. I could see that working for him. It would be an interesting role for him because it's not necessarily what he normally plays, and I think that's why I find the idea so rewarding. But also the same goes for if he were a hunter. That's definitely not the type of role that he normally plays. But I do think with Jurassic World 2, we're mainly going to see like paramilitary type guys. and scientists. I
think it's going to have a Lost World feel.
Yeah.
You know, a group of certain people heading to the island, and there's another group of certain people with another intention.
Yeah, I mean, because so that actually leads me to something, and we can maybe go back to these two guys if we want to, but let's talk about B.D. Wong real quick.
Okay.
So
you mean
Dr. Wu?
How do you pronounce that? And Bud Wong.
Yeah, that's how you actually pronounce it. What do you know? So Dr. Wu, B.D. Wong, someone said, "Hey, are you returning to Jurassic World 2?" It was simply because his name wasn't mentioned in the Variety article. That's not too surprising, either way. But he kind of made a joking tweet, but it said, "It doesn't look that way, does it?"
I think it's really sarcasm.
Because he tends to have a lot of sarcastic things. Although, the problem is sometimes he will say serious things in the exact same sarcastic tone. But I'm pretty certain he's returning in the movie. But nonetheless,
it'd be weird for them to leave him out.
We have to humor the fact.
The way they...
Yeah, I mean, if they're leaving him out, that means like there was a crazy scheduling conflict or something. Like, there's no way they're leaving him out of the movie. But that does leave.
Or you could do a Luke Skywalker and name him until the end.
I mean, that's possible. It'd be kind of weird with him. Like, people loved his character and people know his character at this point, but I'm not sure if it would be as rewarding nor progressive for the story or surprising.
I think he's definitely coming. I don't think really there's much of a chance that he isn't. But I mean, I could be wrong. Like you said, it could be a scheduling thing, or maybe they're really like. Bayona came on and was like, "Do you know what? I'm going to go a slightly different way with the sequel."
I mean, that's possible though. Like, I mean, I enjoyed his character. Him and Mizrani, I really, really enjoyed in Jurassic World. Like, really enjoyed their moments together were fantastic. Both of them played really cool characters. Obviously, we can't have more Mizrani because he died in a fiery helicopter crash.
Oh, he did.
So yeah, I would love to have more Dr. Wu. Plus, there's a good reason. Wherever the story is leading is obviously going there with Dr. Wu. So when you said two separate groups, at least, I imagine there's Wu's group and then there's Claire and Owen's group. That's how I imagine things going. And I have no idea where these guys fit into the picture. You could have they could be goons, they could be scientists, they could
hired goons.
I mean, they could be. They could be, for all I know,
goons. I love it.
I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of options. Oh, speaking of Simon Mizrani, what's also interesting is Rafe Spall. He was in the Laugh of Pi, the Life of Pi.
The Laugh of Pi.
So
he's worked with Mizrani before.
Yeah.
They have business connections.
Yeah,
So let's talk about Lucky. Oh, sorry, Lucy.
I was like, Lucky?
The pronunciations are all over the place today. I'm just reading a comment on your article, Chris, which we'll go into a sec. But Jurassic Collectible, David, you said that you think Lucy is Owen and Claire's child.
Well, I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have kind of said, well, that can't be because of the time difference. But how do we know when this film is set? I don't know.
That's definitely true.
If it's 10 years down the line, whether they're going back to Site B or either Nublar, then it being overgrown and run down is always cooler than it being sort of, we just went there yesterday.
Yeah.
So, it could be their daughter, but I don't know.
I don't think they're going to go that way. I think that's a little too Hollywood, I guess. I think...
The kiss was enough.
The kiss went too far in my mind. Yeah, already. Jurassic Park is about relationships, but not necessarily romance. I think that you've seen these very complex and mature and intriguing relationships in Jurassic Park and in The Lost World. And I don't think that they're necessarily as on the nose and kind of in your face as it was in Jurassic World. So I think dialing it back a notch, making it a little bit more complex and rewarding, and it not being the mainstay of the characters would be better for the film, in my opinion.
The reason why I say it is you can sort of draw a comparison between like Jeff Goldblum's character Ian in the Lost World versus his character in Jurassic Park. In that first film, he's very happy-go-lucky and jokey. Could draw parallels to Owen. And then by the time you get around to the sequel, he's got a daughter, he's got responsibilities, everything's much more grave. You could have a similar progression of character for Owen, where, you know, he's kind of grown up, and so is Claire, and they've got a child to look after, and it adds more of a kind of emotional weight, or sort of like, you know, like a problem if something happens to their child.
I'll be honest, there's a Colin Trevorrow, and I can't source it because it was like right when the movie came out. But there, you know, when people were kind of up in arms about Claire's character, there was a comment like, "Oh, really?" And it was reading into the movie in a way that I never read into it, and I think that it was unreasonable to read into that way. But people thought that Colin Trevorrow's movie was supposed to say, like, every woman should have a child, and this is the movie telling them to have it. And Colin said by no means was that the idea, and he definitely didn't see it as the end that Claire is going to go have a child. Like, that's not the ending that he saw anyway. Okay. And I think because of the commentary on all that, I don't think that he was going for that anyhow. But I think that because of the way that people read into some of those nuances in the film, I think that he's going to complexify it in a way that kind of goes, I told you guys, like, you really read in way too deep, and that's not the way we're going. But because of that, I think that he realizes that it'll be all the more rewarding if he doesn't go in that direction anyhow, because everyone kind of expected it or perceived it that way. So I don't think that's one of the reasons why I don't think it's happening. On top of that, we've never had huge time jumps before, but that doesn't mean it can't happen now.
So let's talk about your theory, Chris. Let's talk about the Lucy theory.
Yeah. By the way, callbacks are coming for that role now.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so basically they've been casting for the role of Lucy, which is a 9-year-old. To give some background, she's a young girl around Jesus Christ. She is a young girl around 9 years of age. The girl playing Lucy must be at least 9 years of age by February 2017, but cannot be over 10 years old. It's very specific.
By the way, they've upped it to 11 now.
Okay.
But I'm hearing they might be going as young as 8 as well.
Okay. She must be a sensitive and clever actress, capable of handling long and complex scenes. Lucy must be able to handle a range of emotions, from tender moments with her father, that's the key, to anxiety, bravery, and shock. So you had some thoughts, Chris, on who her father might be.
Yeah, now, like, here's one of the first things. In my article, I got this out of the way, and, you know, it is kind of baseless conjecture, but it's fun to speculate. But I think one of the things I wanted to say is a casting call mentions the father and names her Lucy. The name actually just might be a placeholder. And the father role might just be generalizing whomever the character is that she's playing with. It might not be a father. You know, whoever she's playing against, it might not actually be a father, but a different type of character who is playing a fatherly role. But for the sake of discussion, I'm assuming her name is Lucy, and it is actually her father. To kind of have a theory to go off of. So, I'm not even sure how to summarize it, because it's such an absurd and insane theory, and that's why the article is so long. Jack, do you want to sum up what I kind of thought?
Yeah, so basically it came down to the fact that you believe that Dr. Wu is Lucy's father.
Yeah.
Which would help humanize
his character.
A character that they're turning into a villain. Yeah. And it also makes it interesting because there'll obviously if that's true, there'll obviously be a point in the movie where he has to make a decision between, you know, something that his daughter cares about, or between his daughter's safety and the dinosaurs that he's created. So it's interesting, and I think it's a very interesting, because we have heard that some girls they have been casting are Asian, right?
Yeah, I think we can say that. We after the article hit, I think that we can say that we at least know of one or two people that would kind of add a little bit of credibility to the theory. However, I'm not sure if all of them were. Someone actually I just saw that said they recently got asked to do a self-tape, so I think it was a callback, and her mom said she has more of an unusual look, if that means anything. I have no idea what that means. But everyone who's gone to the casting for this have said that they believe...
Unusual, she said, yeah?
Everyone, they said they think that they're looking for a certain look.
Well, you know, it's funny because in film, the standard, what you would call pretty, attractive, standard face isn't what they go for. You know, a lot of actors have a very unique look to them. So that's obviously, I mean, they cast younger. I mean, look at Jacob Tremblay, the kid in Room. Mm-hmm. He's a little boy, right? But he's got kind of a feminine look. He's got like the big sticky out ears and stuff. But he's cute as shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, it stands out, and I think that plays a huge role in casting, because you want someone that you want to look at. It isn't just a standard, ordinary, kind of.
Yeah. I think that it is kind of important, like TV casting, like especially like the CW. Oh my God, they're casting everyone they look like chiseled like Abercrombie models, and it's ridiculous. People like that exist, absolutely. That's how they're casting them. I'm not saying, but it's. I don't know. It's absurd when you have there's a very, very Hollywood pretty look that just, when everybody looks like that, it's like you're seeing, it's like this surreal, weird, fake land where everyone kind of acts perfect and looks perfect, and it just doesn't mesh. Yeah. It doesn't mesh. And by the way, again, people that look, I don't mean unattractive or attractive. It's not that. Just unique versus generic, I think, is what I'm saying, and I think it's good to go for unique looking people.
So your theory, though, Lucy, was very interesting in relation to Dr. Wu, because
this is where it gets Lucy a little crazy.
You went on a bit of a tangent here, but Lucy is the name of a skeleton that was discovered, and it predated our human.
Yeah, a lot of people thought it was a missing link. It's a really, really important scientific discovery. It's not the missing link, but it's one of the earliest hominids that existed. I think it's Australopithecus.
And obviously they only discovered less than half of the skeleton.
But that is
the hip bone's different.
Mm-hmm.
The skull is different.
And that's quite a lot, actually.
Lucy, because they believed that she was a little girl.
Yeah, they're able. I think by like the hip bones and a few other things, they're able to determine that it is a girl, a female. So nonetheless,
based on the whole theory of Jurassic Park and the whole what Dr. Wu stands for. He would call his kid Lucy.
Yeah, and because this is a fossil of a 3 million-year-old thing, and this is a franchise of extinct creatures in the past. So the name Lucy, kind of like for me, with my scientific background, my love of dinosaurs and everything like that, the name Lucy immediately triggered. I'm like, Lucy? And it's weird because if it were any other franchise, I would never draw this connection. And I'm probably just, looking for a connection where it doesn't exist. And I said that in the article.
You're giving them the connection.
Yeah, and I said that in the article.
Producers read it and were like, oh yeah!
They're like, oh yeah, this guy's a little crazy, but I like it. So, yeah, basically one of the things that I thought was like, well, what character in the franchise would name their daughter after that finding? And it didn't seem right for Grant. It definitely didn't seem right for Malcolm. I just don't feel like Owen and Claire are going to have a child, at least not in this movie. And I just couldn't help but keep landing on Dr. Wu, because I believed you don't cast the daughter character unless you already have the father character. You don't cast a daughter until you know who she's already playing against. So my theory is they've already had the father lined up for some time. And that's how I kind of landed on Dr. Wu. And
cool.
I think it's a way that we can maybe humanize him. Also, I was I don't know who I was talking with. But it was another thought that I had, and he had as well. And this would be breaking a rule of Jurassic World, the Jurassic franchise. But it's also feasibly thinking, what if this is a character that existed in the past? Like, that's no longer with us. Maybe Lucy doesn't make it a long time ago. And it's what allowed Dr. Wu to become kind of a hollow version of himself.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you mean he took her to the island in '94 when he went to retrieve...
something, or maybe.
And she died.
See, the other thing I was thinking is, what if she didn't die by dinosaurs? What if she just died by disease? What if one of the reasons Dr. Wu is willing to do what he's willing to do is because he wants the funding to further his research and help people not go through what he's gone through before? Maybe he felt like he was restrained by just making dinosaurs for a theme park. He wasn't allowed.
Bring his daughter back.
Well, I don't think it's that, but I think it's the
maybe they're trying to give strength, like you say, to the idea.
Give him
of
motivation,
meddling with human DNA, so that we buy it more by the third chapter.
I don't think we're going that route either, to be honest.
I certainly hope they're not. But that's. I mean, you mentioned what if she didn't die because blah 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 disease.
It would give way to it.
It's a good reason for him to have maybe reason to work with InGen and do their craziness, because for him, maybe he's furthering his research in a direction that Ms. Ronnie didn't allow. and maybe he entertained the world, but now he wants to save the world or change the world. So we have a reason for him being hollow emotionally because he lost his daughter, and we have a reason for him to be up to nefarious deeds because for him it's a way to better the world. It's kind of the necessary evil. So it could motivate his character and explain his character, and that is a direction that I've been humoring. But again, that would mean that she existed. That would mean that we would have flashbacks, and that would mean that we'd be breaking a pretty big role for the franchise. And I'm just not sure if that's going to happen. But it's interesting because you could have a reason to explain the way he is now, or a way to help humanize him now. So I think that it would be a rewarding character, nonetheless. And this is just all speculation. So she's probably just going to be like Rafe Spall's daughter at this point. But you know, it's fun. It's fun to speculate.
Rafi.
She could be a sort of an emotional sounding board for Wu dying. So like Wu, we always speculated that Wu was going to die because he dies in the original novel, and it still feels to me like he's kind of got sins to pay for.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I wonder if he's going to be killed off, but his daughter's going to be there to witness it.
That would be
kind of make it more emotionally, poignant.
Yeah, because you're also torn because it's kind of his fault in a way.
Yeah.
It's like he deserves what he's got coming to him, but then, other people don't see that. He has a kid. She doesn't know he's
and exactly. Maybe
that's interesting. That could play a role. That could play an interesting part.
Or maybe it's a way. Maybe she's still alive, but maybe she's dying, and maybe this is a way to further his research to save her.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he, it gives him stakes for him. It gives him a reason to be what he is, and there's actually humanity to him. And it makes sense, and I think that it's important, especially in this franchise, to really humanize the characters and make them complex and not just kind of two-dimensional. And I feel like Wu, in a lot of ways in Jurassic World, did kind of feel two-dimensional. He kind of felt like the mad evil scientist, and even though he never necessarily seemed evil, it was sort of just the tone that he was presented in.
Yeah, I like the idea that her death or something has given him motivation to do what he's done, to kind of... Because that's the one thing about watching Jurassic World is always a bit jarring, is like he's suddenly... And I know he would have changed as a person over that time, but it felt like he'd suddenly grown in confidence and flamboyantness. So he'd kind of become this character that... When I first watched the original film, it was just like a bit part where he was just this casual guy in the background with a clipboard. And now suddenly he was like, I don't know, he changed a lot for me.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to see some of that change.
Yeah, why?
If they are going the flashback route, they need. It would be nice for them to fill in the gaps, and you've got his background that Jack Owens and Tim wrote on the Masrani website. So, there's history there. So I think it's interesting. But I think I'm going to ask you, David, what do you think now? I can't. We obviously asked you this question at the time, but what do you think now is the sequel going to be about? What do you think is going to happen?
I don't know. It's the thing I keep on coming back to is the open source part. In my mind, that kind of makes me think that someone's got hold of the genetic material and is doing something with it externally from Jurassic Park, and that's a cool idea. That kind of makes me think, what if there's like, I don't know. I watched was it Ex Machina recently?
Oh man, great movie.
And the opening of that is really lovely, where he's flying in a helicopter, and you've got this lovely forest, and
very isolated.
It was definitely a callback to Jurassic Park. I think the director loves Jurassic Park, and also he even as he was unpacking his things, he had a Barbasol can on the
it's
side.
Totally, and the way it drops him there. Imagine being dropped on like
right.
Yeah, there you go, buddy. Good luck.
So what it got me thinking is, it doesn't matter what the environment is, as long as you sell this feeling of isolation. I wonder if it's going to be some sort of futuristic complex in another part of the world, maybe in mainland Europe or something, where they're developing the next set of dinosaurs, and they want to do it better than they did with Jurassic Park. I mean, I don't know. That might be too far, but I feel like they need to tie it somehow with the old islands and then move away from that and go to this new.
Yeah, this
new
could
complex.
be the bridge movie. This could be the one that bridges that kind of setup for Jurassic World 3. But it's interesting you say about they need to establish the isolation. When I was in Hawaii, I was walking through the bamboo forest with Sean, and we just visited a really nice like hidden waterfall. everywhere I looked, I was like, I am in Jurassic Park right now.
So
and
cool.
genuinely, we were talking about. I was like, what did Jurassic World leave out that made you not think it was a Jurassic? It didn't feel as much as a Jurassic movie. It was the feeling of isolation.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter where it's set, where it is. Like you said, Ex Machina. As soon as you're flying over those canopies, those trees,
it's brilliant.
you're like, we are in the middle of nowhere, and then they drop him. The helicopter flies off, and he is alone. And you've already established that this movie, the isolation feeling, and that's something I did feel that Jurassic World left out. It didn't have that isolation feeling.
Yeah,
and that's
that's
so
by
crucial
design.
to the franchise.
That was the original park. Was that whole thing that they were a group of tourists going around the park that hadn't been finished yet?
It wasn't open.
a
Yeah, the
skeleton
staff
crew.
had left.
Has that sort of Westworld, not new Westworld, old Westworld, sort of like not fully like open, sort of very like abandoned and sort of derelict. And I think there was something cool about that, because you're like, I'm trapped on this really cool theme park, but I'm essentially alone with dinosaurs, and that's it for miles. That feeling of Grant, mounting the hill with Timmy and Lex, and it's just no one around for miles.
Exactly.
We flew over that. Not obviously, I didn't know the exact bit, but we flew over those sort of red mountains.
So amazing.
Dude,
and
it's
like,
insane.
But that moment, I think what Jurassic Park did for me, at least when I saw it as a child, was that it honestly felt like you travelled back in time. That island was like this bubble of time travel, and you were going back and seeing these things alive that once existed millions of years ago. Now that thread was lost in Jurassic World, because you were dealing with something that was a fabrication, and I think for me that took me out of the original feeling of Jurassic Park. That we weren't kind of observing things and seeing things brought to life, and maybe it's because we've already done that, but I kind of feel like that was at the heart of the original Jurassic Park, was looking at things that once existed millions of years ago.
I don't think it has anything to do with already doing that, because you can watch plenty of movies that show you things that you've seen before. Jungle Book, even. We've all seen nature documentaries, and by the way, each nature documentary can still wow me if the production values are there. Even if they aren't there, I still love to learn.
Earth too, so.
Yeah, but I don't think it was that. I think it was the fact that everything kind of felt manufactured and placed there, like you said. Even in the case of the dinosaur encounters, all the herbivore encounters, nothing felt real about them to me. Something felt like that gyrosphere scene fell flat, and it's because everything felt like it was perfectly placed. None of the animals were acting like
it was just a showcase.
None of them felt like real animals to me. It felt like I had VR goggles on, and I was supposed to be watching it from their perspective, like looking around, and be like, and it's right there to my left, and it's towering over me, and it's to my right, and look at it, it's walking right in front of me perfectly, and then it did not feel real, and I've never had that problem, not with at least Jurassic Park or The Lost World. I think what scene had that problem was the river scene in Jurassic Park 3, when the brachiosaurs were all perfectly placed and all the other animals. That didn't feel real to me. But and I think
that shot in Jurassic 3 is a little. It fits a little weird.
Yeah, and
still better than the sort of brachio stuff what is it in Jurassic World?
Apatosaurus?
The Apatosaurus, yeah. It's sort of... I prefer the Jurassic scene, even though the Brachiosaurus
I don't really prefer
weird.
either one of them. And even when they then start making the gyrosphere go fast and all the animals are running around them, and the stegosaurs are like flying, like they're running like a little speed demon. That whole scene just...
Go speed race.
That whole scene just kind of falls flat. I think it's like, honestly, could have been a really great scene. I think it really just comes down to how they animated them, where they placed them, what they looked like. It just didn't work for me. Those scenes were kind of... I really enjoyed the concept of them. The execution fell flat in my mind. And then I think everything else kind of comes together until you have the pteranodons, which then once again felt a little too villainous. Now we're going down the route of dissecting Jurassic World.
Let's talk. So I just came back from I played PlayStation VR for the first time at my friend's house, and the only thing I could think of, obviously, crazed Jurassic fan, is Jurassic Park's always running through our mind. But seriously, Jurassic Park needs a VR game.
Yeah.
How genuinely, VR is amazing. I had a great
It
time.
is, but I don't think it's the future of gaming. I really, really do not think it's the future of gaming.
I think VR has a place in gaming.
I think it has a place in
like the Wii
entertainment.
and the Wii Fit and people getting up and running around. No one wants to do exercise when they're playing games, and it will never catch on. That's why Nintendo is never going to work. But PlayStation VR, I think it has a role. I think it'll be very special type of games that get games. It's not as much of a fad as 3D is, for example.
I think that 3D will be around to stick longer than VR in terms of gaming. 3D gaming's not really a thing, I guess. I think VR is going to be a form of entertainment that is really going to be embraced in ways that are unique and awesome,
like events kind of thing.
I don't think it's going to be the future of home entertainment the way people have built it. I think that maybe
I don't know, man. This PlayStation VR is I know a lot of people who've bought them.
I honestly genuinely do not believe, because it's a very intriguing sense of isolation, and that's sort of the point. That's sort of the point. But I'm not sure if it's going to, because of that, I'm not sure if it's going to get mainstream acceptance for in the house cutting yourself off from your entirety. I don't know. I'm not quite sold that VR is the future of home entertainment. I do think it's the future. I do think it's the future of entertainment, though. Would be. I think just in different ways.
Yeah.
If you were to take a Jurassic Park VR tour and you did everything that happened in the first movie, that would just be probably the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, or if you just could.
And actually, I think there's a whole company that, like Telltale Games is, in terms of the way that they specialize in storytelling. You could have a whole company that just does movie VR remakes.
Yeah,
and you just walk through the film, playing it. I don't know if you guys have read Ready Player One.
I haven't read it. No,
but in the novel there is like scenes where the character has to walk through the guy who created the virtual reality system, his favorite films, and he has to walk through war games and recite the lines from the movie and go. I don't know if it would go to that level. But
that's interesting though. Making you sort of Jurassic Park VR, and it's the movie.
It's the movie, yeah.
You're playing as somebody,
and for every movie, Indiana Jones, Star Wars.
That's interesting. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it's early days right now. They only have demos, and some games aren't fleshed out, and there's 4 games coming out. But Jurassic Park VR, something, just get us on the island.
Well, the VR experience with the Apatosaurus was fantastic. I know.
Yeah, see, and what happened to that? Why isn't that
I think that
on PlayStation VR? Samsung.
They did release it for free on Samsung. But yeah, it was very short. It was 2 minutes, but it was really cool. I think one of the coolest things that, for me, the Apatosaurus animated more rewardingly, and it looked better than the film version. It was sleeping.
Yeah, and the Jeep.
It was sleeping and it had its nest. It wakes up, it walks over to you, and then it goes up on its legs like the Brachiosaur from the first movie, and it grabs some brush, and then the tail whoosh. It animated so beautifully, and it felt like a real animal. It's weird because I criticized that Jurassic World scene for feeling like a VR experience. And then the VR experience, I say, felt like a real animal. It is kind of ironic. But then again, it's probably Googled because I was viewing it through its intended medium. And I just felt like the gyrosphere experience didn't feel right. It felt fake.
Yeah,
it felt like they were holograms put there for Gray and Zach to believe it's real.
Going back to the isolation idea, I mean, I look at Jurassic World kind of and think, what if I were making this, what would I change? And I think it would be hard to do the tour like they did in the first film, because people would say you're just copying the first film exactly. But you could have that feeling of isolation by having everyone safely evacuated from the island early on, leaving just Chris Pratt and the 2 boys, because the 2 boys would need to stay with Claire. So you would actually get more of a feeling of isolation like the original island did. And it's a very easy change to make that, in the screenplay. But I think maybe the Pteranodon attack brought the need for the guests to stay on the island back in. I don't know, but it just feels like that would be a massive change. It would just make the island feel really isolated, like it did in the first film.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I've just found something really interesting. I searched Jurassic Park VR, and obviously came up with, so you can get it for free on Oculus Rift, but somebody has done a VR for their Oculus Rift, which is the original Jurassic Park gates. I'm looking at it right now.
Ooh.
And it's pretty goddamn cool. I don't know if this is I don't know what this is exactly. I'll link you guys.
Just the gates.
It looks like, in-game gates. I can see fences, and then there's the raptor pen, which he's currently working on. So this is obviously, a fan has made this.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff
doing...
is absolutely awesome. Like, don't get me wrong. I think VR is fantastic. I think it's really cool. If I get a pair...
Oh, he says... Sorry, yeah, he says the game, if you can call it that, will take you on a tour of the park from inside a Ford Explorer, and will also... He hopes to add a free roam mode. Now, this was 2013, so I don't know. It's
That's
probably
a
died
huge
out, but...
undertaking. To be fair, a lot of times these people have these great ideas because they have the talent, but the undertaking is just way too big to actually make it become a reality. You know, this small skeleton crew, self-budget, self-time, it'll take like 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. I just went on Jurassic-Life.com because somebody on that forum put, check this puppy out, son. Oh, there's more pictures, man. So he's done the raptor pit.
How will you visit that inside the car? You just drive by.
I think that must have been a way. Yeah.
Just tumble down the hill in the car.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Did you visit there on your trip to Kauai?
No, we only had a day in Kauai, unfortunately, and apparently we were trying to go there, and we were asking about it, and they were like, no, the traffic is going to set you back. You were not going to have time, so because the helicopter tour was about 3 hours,
right?
Because you do landing at the waterfall as well.
Cool.
The waterfall, guys.
Yeah, that is.
Did you think when you were there that it was smaller? I thought it looked small. I think maybe because they use, obviously, you know, Spielberg uses a wide-angle lens for all of these shots to make it look more dramatic. And
I don't know, man. I didn't really
it's not as tall as you think it is. I don't know.
It's tall as hell, though, man. It is tall.
It is tall.
I have a super wide camera lens, which is how I was able to get it.
Well, what about the width of that ravine bit that it's in? Like,
it's yeah, no, it's. I mean, it's overgrown now, and it's like you couldn't get cars back.
It looks small, doesn't it? Like width-wise.
Small. It's a small area. But what was interesting is the guide was telling me that you can So the landing pad was floating. It was a floating device, and because a few days before they'd had some real rough weather, Hawaii, it was almost not capsizing, but floating away. So they had to, I think, during the filming, they were like holding it and trying to whatever. But he said apparently parts of the original landing pad were left at the other side of the. And I was like, can I go grab some? Can I go get something? But it was seriously.
Did you get some?
No, you can't. You literally can't get across. And we went on a day that was. Do you know? It was really sweet actually. Somebody proposed when we were there.
Wow.
At the waterfall, I was like hanging back, and I was like, "What's going on? What's going on up front?" And then I was like, "Oh my god, he's proposing!"
Yeah.
But it was a really kind of heavy flow of water that day, and you couldn't get near it without getting soaked. I'm absolutely drenched in the picture.
I can't remember when it was. I think I was watching the making of Jurassic Park, and there's a bit in the middle where they showed some of the filming at that waterfall, but just prior to it, they kind of show the road getting there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I'm going to have to go back and watch it, but they seem to pan across from one side to the other, and I could see the waterfall in the distance, and then I could see like a part of the T-Rex set where the car comes out of, and I was kind of like, it was kind of like giving me an idea of the geography of the two sets and how they were joined together.
Is that right?
Yeah, it was like a. You'll see it in the documentary. It's like a dirt road just going towards the waterfall. You can see the waterfall in the distance, and they're like carrying bits of set towards it. And then as they pan across, I'm pretty sure it's like pointing to somewhere nearby that looks like where they were filming the T-Rex part. So I'm kind of like, oh, right. So, I mean, they wouldn't have been filming it on the same day, but it's just kind of like, I think it was...
I got to check that out, man. I didn't even notice, because there isn't really a road or anything like in the whole area.
I mean, Blue Hole
is
miles away from there, but I just got a feeling of the geography of where they were coming from. I'm going to have to go back and watch it, but...
check out the photo. By the way, these photos are on the Hawaii write-up I did on Jurassic Outpost, but check out the one I just sent you through Skype, guys. You can see the other side of the river. You can see blocks and what looks like moldy wood and stuff. Apparently, that's all under that foliage. There is all parts of the original land.
He's got to swim there. Come on, that was a short little swim.
He wouldn't let me, man.
Where's the block? Where's the blocks that you're talking about?
So you see how what would you call it? Where the water's rushing off the edge.
Yeah.
If you follow that and then you get to the wall, go left, and then you'll see the long, tall piece of wood.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Poking out.
Sort of poking out. That's apparently what I would imagine is, you know how the landing pad had trying to remember what it's called.
So these, and also these bits that are sticking out of the waterfall, these poles that are kind of like,
yeah,
are they part?
Apparently that's where it was kept in place.
So they would have had to have added that for the film. They would have had to have...
I think so.
Huh.
If you look at it,
I mean, even the shape of it looks like they've added something to like a little wall there to kind of...
Yeah, to kind of contain...
Did they build this
weird,
wall
but...
as well? This whole little wall here, did they build that? I mean...
Maybe. If you look at it, the screenshot like from the movie, you can see how it's so different. The landing pad kind of sits on the wall. So yeah, I would imagine that wall was built.
Interesting.
We need to contact like Michael Lantieri or Rick Carter and see if they remember.
Yeah, like detail it for us, man.
Yeah.
That's it. That's one thing. Like, and also, I don't know if you've ever seen that picture. A fan visited the waterfall and they took their Barbasol canister.
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's a really famous picture. It's like,
well, they've got that picture up in the helicopter office.
Oh right,
the woman was telling me about it. She was like, "Oh yeah, we love all the fan stuff," and like, yeah.
Do you know, the first thing I thought about that is how did they get that on the plane?
Yeah, true, man, true. Although I guess it's not. No, that's interesting. They probably put it in their suitcase.
Yeah, but they just didn't get checked, I suppose.
Maybe.
Or maybe
they
they live on the island. Maybe they're local to the island. I don't know.
Maybe. But yeah, I've got to spend more time on Kauai. It's a gorgeous island. It's way more Jurassic than Oahu is. It's just feels more.
More
like Nublar.
Yeah,
I think definitely.
On that note, the different islands, everything like that. We were speculating earlier that Sorna might show up. If Sorna does show up, do you think they'll film in the California redwoods?
Oh, I hope so.
Again, because I think that's something that we need to keep our eyes on, because we know they're filming in Hawaii and we know that they're filming in London for Pinewood Studios. Filming there. But I wonder where else they may end up filming that we don't necessarily know about. But I wouldn't be surprised if some more filming happens elsewhere.
What when they filmed The Lost World? Which islands were they filming on, and also which islands are they filming on for Jurassic World 2?
I asked Colin that in the interview, and he wouldn't tell me because he said if I tell you where we're filming or which island we're filming on, you're going to know what we're returning to. He was like, "You guys know the island too much."
So if it's Kauai, then it's Jurassic Park, isn't it?
Technically, yeah, I would imagine that's kind of how it goes, because a lot of Jurassic World was on Oahu.
And Jurassic Park as well, actually. So if they say Oahu...
No, the only scene that was filmed from Jurassic Park on Oahu was the Gallimimus, and that was by accident. That was because of the
But that's very
storm
specific. That's probably the only island that like if you said Oahu, then you'd go, oh, then we know you're going back to Jurassic Park, not The Lost World.
Oh, yeah,
you see what I mean,
for sure.
In terms of logic.
That's why he wouldn't tell us. But yeah.
Yeah,
that makes me think it's Oahu then.
I mean, it might be, honestly, it could be, it could be both islands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to say at this point.
If they're trying to link the trilogy again, they're trying to, make you remember the first three films, then it's safe to say maybe they are going back to both islands. And if this is the goodbye to the islands, then seeing both of them makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's true. And I think they're going to want to point back to the old films as much as possible before they move off of them.
Definitely
have some more.
But we need to get to some new locations a little bit. I mean, Hawaii does have some crazy locations. But it has some beautiful locations that necessarily I wouldn't say are defined by either one of the movies that we've seen yet. And I think that there's a good opportunity to maybe go to some different areas.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Island has a massive volcano.
Yeah, I mean, even just filming around that type of atmosphere would give it a very different look, whether or not you had it as a volcano or not. We know that one exists on the island because of the map, and the websites acknowledge it. But, I mean...
If we'll see it is another story, but that would be interesting.
That'd be fun. I think that even if it isn't a thing, just filming around one in reality, like in the real world, could just give a different,
sort of harsher.
Yeah, it gives it a harsher look. Even it doesn't necessarily have to be volcanic, but it would just be interesting to look at.
Dark rock kind of thing. Ancient futures, guys. Well, listen, it was great to speak to you both. David, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Where can people check out? I mean, most people listening to this know who you are, but where can we check out your stuff?
YouTube.com/Jurassic Collectables, and you can find my Twitter and Facebook if you Google Jurassic Collectables, you'll find me.
Check it out, seriously. One of my favorite collections out there. You have some insane stuff. Have you got any of Chronicles products?
No, not yet. They haven't released one yet.
No.
They're just about...
Oh, okay. Have you pre-ordered?
They're just about to ship the T-Rex bust, and the only reason I didn't get that is because I already own one.
Yeah, that was... they did a great job with it, but it was a weird product to start with, if I'm being entirely honest. Just because a lot of collectors have already purchased them as bootlegs before they're available officially.
Exactly.
But some of their other products coming up are amazing. And
the T-Rex Breakout, I'm in talks with them, and they've already agreed to send a sample for review. So that's
no way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so that will be on Jurassic Collectables. But I need to talk to them more about. I mean, I think they're so far off that they're not worrying too much about things right now. I wouldn't expect to see T-Rex Breakout till next year, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we're not going to see that shipping until next year. But
the one I'm really excited about is the night vision goggles, if I'm honest, because that's something.
Yeah, you're more of a prop dude, right? Like the props from the movie. You've got the ticket that was made for the restaurant that Ned
the same
in Costa Rica.
The same one. Yeah, it's
the most unique product from any fan.
I can say this because Paul said it on the forums, the statue forums. He said he's admitted that there's a Hammond's cane in development. And I've seen the prototypes. I've actually held some of the prototypes.
Yeah. And at Chronicles?
Mm-hmm. Wow. And they're beautiful. So that's really all I can say for now. But yeah, the fact that he did admit on the forums that is something that's happening. So I don't know when it's going to happen, but it is happening. So that's something.
Hopefully,
that's
soon,
something to really look forward to.
Would have on their wall.
I've got a little bit of
it's cast off. It's cast off the official one. It's cast off of the real thing.
Oh wow!
So it's 100% a perfect replica. Not how there's a lot of other ones out there, but there are people making approximations. This one's cast. I mean, the amber egg is the exact shape. The cane's the exact shape, every crack. So, yeah.
Gosh, that's going to be expensive. That's cool.
I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Hit us with the trivia.
I got a bit of prop trivia. So you know that I own the Samuel L. Jackson arm, and
oh yeah, I can't believe that.
And the leg. Now the leg is interesting because it's in the storyboards, and the leg shows signs of wear. So they did shoot something with the leg.
For God's sake, more deleted scenes
on the set. So yeah, she did, and actually, if you look at that, she gets an ankle injury, doesn't she? And it isn't explained. So I kind of think she trips over the leg. That's where her ankle gets hurt.
That would
be
yeah.
So that makes sense.
That scene was supposed to be a lot longer. We know that.
We were supposed to see him die.
But the guy who made the arm and the leg, he also made the goat that falls on the roof of the Land Rovers.
I've always thought that was a slab of meat, to be honast with you.
No, he sculpted it. He was hired by Stan Winston to make all these.
Wow. I just thought that was a slab of meat because the way it looks so perfectly like a slab of meat. Like
it does, yeah. And I think because it's hairy and stuff, I suppose they wanted it to look really grisly, and they kind of said like, yeah, we'll get someone to sculpt it so it looks really genuine. I don't know. So so it's a guy called Lance Anderson who was a close friend of Stan Winston. I think he's still good friends with Matt Winston as well. But he went back to the set after they shot the T-Rex main road attack, and one of the higher up folk who'd worked on the film had nabbed the goat, and he was a bit annoyed because he wanted to take it home with him.
Like, where's the goat?
So when they shot the bit with Samuel L. Jackson's arm, he made sure that he went to the set. And then when they finished shooting, he went up and just took it. And
well, that's mine. That one's mine.
That's the story, like why they're still... Because then they were passed on to his son, and that's basically who I got them through Prop Store, but from his son, essentially.
That's awesome. But that's really cool that you've got that.
Yeah, but it's just a nice story about him kind of making these things and trying to get them back off the set, and then like one of the producers went down and went yoink.
Well, yeah, it's funny that happens, and it's also not funny. When I was at the premiere, the after party for Jurassic World. So it's the premiere night. They had all these props and everything all around, and they had the egg incubators, the real ones used in the movie. They're all around, all the different, like by the bars and everything like that. And they had the eggs in them, and a lot of them were open. As the night went on, people started taking the eggs And like suddenly you started looking at incubators, and there were no eggs left in them. By the end of the night, somehow people had taken almost every single egg, and I don't know how security didn't stop them.
Yeah, cheers for the egg, by the way.
Yeah, no, it was funny because I was one of the last people to
That was
leave.
the best Easter ever.
I was one of the last people to leave. I was there with Jack and Tim and like the guys from the Universal team. Really nice people, by the way. They're like, where the hell are the eggs? And they're like, what are people doing? Like, I think they're able to save a few, but they're just like, are you kidding me? Like, just
Well, they should have done what they did on Jurassic Park. They've all got holes in the bottom where they tied them down. They tied them all down to the set, so they should have done the same thing. They should have been like,
But
is that what they did on?
Yeah, they've all got holes in the bottom. I'm not sure if it just like sat on things, and also I've got a discarded casting of one of the eggs, and the reason why it wasn't used is because the resin welled on one side of the egg. Which makes me think that one of the director's comments or whoever was, saying about this, they wanted the eggs to be upright.
Okay, yeah, I see what
So
you
that's
mean.
why I think there's a hole on the bottom, so that they're all tied down, so they look upright. Because in that scene, they're all kind of upright in the.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they were sitting on little something to kind of keep them like in a nice uniform, like keep them uniformly upright rather than sort of leaning and falling. It's that way.
So I get the feeling that was like a comment or a note that someone said, like, make sure the eggs are upright because they look better like that. It's kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's cool.
Well, hey, yeah, David, it was great to have you on.
Yeah, great to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Like we said a few minutes ago, check out youtube.com/JurassicCollectables. Looking forward to your video when Chronicle are able to send you the
me
breakout
too.
in detail.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely
can't
want
wait
to
to
see
see
that.
it. And same with the cane. I want, it'd be amazing to secure the cane as well, but I'd have to talk to them. I'm imagining these are years off in the future.
I don't know, the cane, like Chris said,
I know what's going on with the cane, and I can't say much beyond that. But I can tell you,
exists.
I can tell you it exists, and I don't know exactly when it's going to come out, though, because I'm not sure if that's exactly been figured out. But it does exist, and the reason why I can say that is because he's said so on the statue forum. So that's something to look forward to.
You can read it on there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Well, hey, thanks again, David.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, check out JurassicOutpost.com for all the latest casting news. By the time
I'm sure there'll be something new at this point.
Yeah. So I'll try and get this episode up quickly. But yeah, farewell and thank you for listening.
So long and thanks for all the fish.